Salam sejahtera, anda sedang menonton Agenda AWANI bersama saya, Cynthia Ng. Pada Khamis ini akan berlangsungnya satu persidangan pendidikan bernama Leaps of Knowledge yang akan membincangkan cara-cara untuk menggalakkan guru dan ibu bapa untuk menjadi pencetus inovasi dalam pendidikan. Dan persidangan ini akan menampilkan barisan speakers yang amat menarik dan saya berbesar hati kerana hari ini salah seorang daripada speaker tersebut, seorang speaker antarabangsa, sudi datang ke Agenda AWANI untuk membincangkan dengan lebih lanjut konferensi yang ini. Dan saya ingin meneruskan rancangan ini dalam bahasa Inggeris. Firstly, I would like to welcome Julia Immanent, founder of Sports for Freedom, a non-profit organisation that uses sporting challenges to raise awareness on issues like human trafficking and modern slavery.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks for coming on the show. And of course, we also have Ms. Luyo, Executive Director of Frogasia. Thank you for coming back on the show. Great to see you again.
Yes, thanks for having me back.
Okay, well, let's just talk a bit about the conference itself. The theme, inspiring change makers in education. Why change makers?
I think, change is happening at the moment in Malaysia. I mean, change happens all the time, but change in education is happening, and it is such an exciting time. With what we're doing with the One Bistari Net project, pockets of change makers are being raised in different places around the country. And we want to gather teachers and parents all together in one place at this conference to see what is actually happening in this country. And we also, Leaps of Knowledge is a platform to inspire and equip people to understand, what is happening in the education field today. How can you use education, technology to transform education? And so we're bringing prominent leaders, thought leaders, educationalists, and personalities to come and speak about what it means to be change makers, and just to help empower and equip our teachers and our parents to embrace the change that is happening, and not just inspire them, but then propel them to go out and do what it takes to be a change maker.
And we talk about inspiring. I believe Julia here is one absolutely inspiring figure. You were part of a first female crew to row 3,000 miles across the Atlantic Ocean, broke set 2 new world records to raise funds and awareness on the human trafficking issue. Tell us about the experience itself.
Yeah,
the impact of such a project.
Yeah, when you say, we rode 3,000 miles, it was about 2.5, 3 years ago, and it just feels like a million miles away. But I became really passionate about fighting human trafficking after watching the film Taken, and just thought, how as an ordinary educated girl do I not know about the largest, fastest growing crime in the world? And I love sport, play sport, it's very much my world, and I kind of thought, well, how can little old me ever make a difference to such an overwhelmingly huge injustice? And I guess I just looked at what was in my hand, and that was to use sport. So an initial half marathon then turned into this row across the Atlantic, which was my best friend's idea. She ended up pulling out, and by that point I was just so passionate about, retracing the transatlantic slave route for the estimated, well, it was 30 million during the time that we were raising awareness and funds and, really being a voice for the voiceless. But new research just in the last sort of 10 days has shown that the new, more true estimate is 36 million globally. So it's huge. And the buying and selling of human beings, it happens in Malaysia. It's right here on our doorsteps. It's in every community globally, but we can't all do everything, but we can all do something. And that's what my I guess passion is to see, women, men and children, and especially young people really taking on this baton to fight it.
And how does sport bring a lasting impact from this kind of initiative?
Yeah, our charity Sport for Freedom uses the positive power of community and sport. So we're rehabilitating survivors of human trafficking. We're using sport as an educational preventative tool. And this is why I'm so passionate about Leaps of Knowledge and this conference on Thursday, because it's such a positive response. So working with Frogasia and just providing, positive, practical ways that people can get involved is really important.
I think it's not just the positivity of sports, because it not only brings people together, it also has a deeper impact, especially in developing communities. For example, it helps keep students in education. It helps children build confidence, life skills, and perhaps this is what we can contribute to the education sector. Maybe Lou, from Frogasia's experience, I understand that you have created an application which children can share and learn, be more aware of issues such as this.
Yeah, so just right to that, we have an app on the Google Play Store at the moment called Run for Freedom, and it's really inspired by what Julia's work, and also a group of students that have run this international movement called the 24-hour race, which Frogasia is sponsoring. And basically what it started in Hong Kong, went on to Singapore, and now a group of students just did this 2 weeks ago, a 24-hour race where they ran, international schools and local schools, government schools, ran for 24 hours non-stop, and raise funds for the issue of human trafficking. So we're supporting that, and so not everyone can run. I'm not a sport person, I can't run, but everyone can play their part, and it's just as easy as downloading an app called Run for Freedom on the Google Play Store. Every time you download that, and there's a quiz on it, speaks about human trafficking and just facts about human trafficking, and answering that and then sharing that application on one of your social media platforms. Frogasia will then donate RM1 to Sukha Society, which is one of the charities here. So I think really it's about using what's in your hands. Not everybody is passionate about sport, but they can always, it draws them, and they believe in, a greater cause.
I guess sports itself can be used as a tool.
Yes.
And how can we inculcate that in education among teachers who are the leaders and probably change makers? This is what Leaps of Knowledge is aspiring to bring, this message of changing leaders so that they can better schools. Probably we can talk about that after the short break, because right now we just need to take a quick minute, and we'll come back shortly. Stay with us. Welcome back to Agenda AWANI, and joining me is Julia Imanan, founder of Sports for Freedom, and Ms. Luyo, Executive Director for Frogasia. A conference will be happening on Thursday. The main theme is about changing leaders, school teachers, and even parents to be leaders and to bring innovation and education in schools, even at home. But I think more importantly also, we should also to look beyond just assessment and educational advancement, but how do you also bring values to children to create a society which is more accountable and collective? Because we can achieve many things in terms of building big buildings, but then we have lots of social issues happening at our backyard. Yes. That doesn't work, doesn't it?
Cynthia, I totally agree with you. I think learning is holistic, and of course academics is important and doing well is important, but you need to create an all-rounded person who, understands teamwork, understands leadership, understands values. And this is exactly what Leaps of Knowledge is about, that we want to bring people who have a story to tell about what they've done to make a difference. And just what Julia did when she spoke, she came in June, and she spoke to us about, using what is in your hands. She wrote The Atlantic Ocean. Not everyone's going to be able to do that, but she spoke in 2 sessions, one in KL and one in Penang, and just ask people, what can you do with what is in your hands? And what we've seen from that is that schools have gone away, and they've done their own projects and thought, yes, there's so much injustice in this world. What am I passionate about? One school decided that it's bullying. We need to talk about anti-bullying in our school. So they did a car wash, and they created an awareness. They raised 5,000 ringgit, created awareness, put a video up about anti-bullying, and talked about that. Another school knew that there were autistic kids, underprivileged kids in their school, and they wanted to learn how to reach out to them. So they did a sporting event, like a little sports day for them, and then they also made equipment that was friendly for these kids. So they learned a bit about that. Some other kids went tutoring, so they went out to the orphanages to tutor them because they realized that they had so much, and what can they do for others. So I think that's so exciting, and these kids are actually going to be at the conference, and they're going to be presenting what they've done. So those are just 3 stories. I mean, I can go on. Another school did a flea market. I mean, you
so
see
inspired, hearing now the reaction, and just I know the importance and the value that my teachers had in me, and I really want these 800 to 1,000 teachers and leaders and decision makers to feel inspired that, you know, they are leading the charge for this next generation. And it isn't just human trafficking, but if they're, you know, if we can get them passionate and they can get the students passionate, that, you know, we really can change some of the injustices in this world.
Yes, it's also to bring that enthusiasm to students as well.
And I think teachers, you know, they have big classrooms, you know, they are sometimes undervalued, and we want to place value on them. And through this conference, I think it's a wonderful platform to be able to do that. And just the stories that have come out from the last leaps of knowledge, and just the creativity and the imagination that these children have once they're inspired, it's incredible and endless what they can do.
Speaking of you know, teachers being bogged down by so many different KPIs, things to do, Lou, I understand you also work with a lot of local schools, government schools, and what do you see are some of the biggest challenges facing teachers today?
I think teachers have a lot of administrative work, and they're very big classes. So, you know, a typical class is 40 to 45 students, and personalized teaching is not possible with the timetables. A lot of schools are multi-sessions, so, you know, you can't, lessons are limited to a period of time, and you don't have that personal time with each teacher. And I think, each student, sorry. So I think at the end of the day, you know, teachers really want to give their best, and we're really passionate about how we can ease the burdens for teachers, and technology is one of the ways to do that. And all schools have the Frog platform now. You know, administrative tasks can be cut down by being able to do all your paperwork online. Simple things like marking quizzes, once they're on, they don't actually have to take stacks of books home to mark. So I think just these things then free up the teachers' time to be able to spend with their kids. And also I think what technology is able to do is to kind of take the data of what the students are doing, so analytics, and analyze, for example, if a kid, all the students in the class had all these questions, which ones were majority of them getting wrong, and then being able to then say, oh, a lot of people don't actually know how to do question 5, which is about, you know, a more complicated concept on photosynthesis, for example. Then the teacher can spend more time teaching that, and actually it aids the teachers. So I'm really, really passionate about helping teachers, you know, have less things to do so that they can spend time developing their students.
Julia, I would like to understand back in the UK, what are your views about teachers' role as well? I would like to understand what is your views on the metrics for a successful education.
Yeah.
Because if I were to compare in Malaysia, we are a very much assessment-based kind of schooling system. We are trying to move away. We are trying, but we are still bogged down with the mentality that, you know, you have to excel, you have to get so many A's in your exam to be someone in society. Is it the same in the UK? And what is your view about a successful holistic education?
Yeah, I was a very average B student. I wasn't, you know, I didn't excel in academia. So for me, I really came alive and flourished and did well when it was more vocational, when it was more holistic. And all the skills and the talents that you learn through a more holistic sort of practical approach, for me, you know, benefited me hugely. But I think academia is still, you know, it is ultimately the crux of what defines success. I mean, I'm originally from Finland, and we've seen through many studies over years that they're way ahead of the game in their education system, because they believe in that power of interaction and play from a very early age, actually up until 7, whereas in the UK we send kids off to school at 4 years old. So I'm a real passionate believer in this more holistic approach. So I think working with Frog for me, and just seeing their passion in broadening the sort of horizon on learning, it just can engage way more people and probably has a more powerful reach.
Okay. Without giving too much away, but maybe you could share what are some of the experiences that you have learned? How much are you going to bring it to the conferences?
Yeah, I love talking about this boat in our race called Dream It, Do It, because I think we live in this instant culture. We can get everything on our phone quickly, and, you know, we just want instant results in everything that we do. But we all know in education and in our studies, you have to put the work in behind the scenes. And there was a boat called Dream It, Do It, and we can all dream dreams. That's the easy easy part, but the doing part, you know, yeah, I'm going to row the Atlantic, but the doing part was so hard, physically, emotionally, mentally. And actually, I just want to say to, you know, young people and indeed this conference on Thursday, yes, it's going to be hard. I say that the row was the hardest but the best thing I've ever done. But yes, it's going to be hard, but the kind of doing, there isn't a secret formula. It's just grit, having a whatever it takes attitude and going through those tough times. And it's a long road. It's not an instant, easy road, but it will be worth it. And how amazing we can change the world at the same time.
It's a long journey, but I guess what it takes also is to start that fire, ignite that fire. And I think this conference is a great platform to do so. We'll go for the next commercial break, but coming back, we will talk about how can you bring a more sustained and lasting impact from a conference such as this, and we'll talk about that shortly. Stay with us. Welcome back. The Leaps of Knowledge conference, themed Inspiring Changemakers in Education, is going to happen on 27 November, Thursday, at the Majestic Hotel, Kuala Lumpur. Am I right? Okay, maybe Lou could share with us, what do you hope to achieve with this conference? I understand it is the second time that it's being held, right?
Yes, exactly. So we launched our first conference last year, and last year we had Professor Sugata Mitra, TED Prize winner.
He's awesome. I spoke with him before.
Yes,
his views about the future of education.
Yeah, yes, and what he said, you know, at the conference was, people like to talk about change. We talk about change all the time, but change is not about to happen. Change is actually happening. So let's not talk about what's going to happen if change happens. Let's talk about what we're going to do because change is happening. Change is here. And so that's what we want to show at the conference, that, you know, we're bringing all these speakers in to speak about the different ways in which you can approach learning. You know, one from a more educational point of view from Alistair Smith, Dr. Alice Wilder, who's an education psychologist, and saying, how do we get kids to learn the way that they like to learn? So she's worked with Cartoon Network, she created Blue's Clues from Nick Jr., she works with Amazon Kids. So really, you know, when you kind of get the kids interested in learning, then they don't think it's boring, and they learn. And then, of course, Julia with her Dream It, Do It. You know, if I can row the Atlantic, what can you do with your hands, with what's in your hands? And Encik Jowell from a school in Sarawak, SK Ululubai, and he'll be speaking about, from a leader's point of view, what does it take as a leader to be able to lead the charge and get everyone together. So the keynote speakers is going to be, they're going to be amazing, and I think they're just going to inspire and equip the delegates to just listen and just ignite, you know, new ideas. But on top of that, I think we don't want to just speak at people. So the vibe of the conference is intentionally fun. It's going to be vibrant. It's last year we were trending on Twitter. Who says people can't, teachers don't use technology?
Hashtag Leaps 14, watch out, it's going to go mad.
And it was amazing. We were trending on Twitter the whole day, and some tweets, one of them was, oh, this is like an education rock concert. Yeah. And I think intentionally so. Like, we wanted to show the energy, the vibrancy, the fun that needs to happen in order, this is what you need to bring into the classroom so the kids will engage with you. So the teachers and parents will be able to experience what a future classroom looks like, get the energy, and then be able to meet new people. There's a lot of time to meet each other, and I think the best ideas happen when you start collaborating and you hear from each other and you speak to each other and you say, hey, wasn't that great? And then we have workshops that are conducted by many people, including teachers who have done amazing things in schools. So they, you know, hearing firsthand, asking them questions.
I think it's very important to bring the person who has done it himself in front of the other teachers to show that, hey, this is possible. I rode across the Atlantic. It's possible. It's not that hard. I've asked, maybe 45 minutes probably a bit pushing it there. But anyway, Lou, I remember asking you this question about your future of the classroom of the future, and maybe this time around, I'd like to speak to Julia as well. What do you think is the future of the classroom?
Wow, I think you're probably better equipped because you're the expert
Yes, we have
in
technology, we have the
But-
tools, but what do you think are still lacking to push us to take that leap?
Yeah, I think all the things that Lou kind of mentioned about the conference, the vibrant, you know, it's a fun thing to be at. I just think education has to be it has to move with the times, and it is ever changing. So I think just keeping up with technology, keeping up with, you know, this younger generation who are ever evolving, ever moving and ever changing. And I just think making it accessible for what I love about Frog's platform is that, you know, they can share information from a school in KL to a rural village, and with whether it's justice issues or anything, that you can get that across a whole platform is so powerful. And indeed globally we've seen the impact. We did a big cycle for freedom in the UK just a few weeks ago, and we went to many Frog academies and schools and just saw their passion for it. So I think just being at the cutting edge and just knowing what kids and teachers need and monitoring that, which Frog do so amazingly well.
Okay, and how do you propose, a conference such as this is great, but how do you propose to generate a more lasting impact, a sustained impact from initiatives such as this to keep the fire burning?
Yeah,
to put
so
it simply?
exactly to that, our conference theme is inspiring change makers in education, not for you to sit there and be inspired and then just go away and do nothing. And we have stories from this. So last year, we saw 700 people come into one place, and for the first time just felt this energy. So pockets are happening all over, but sometimes you feel alone because you're in this one school here and one school there. I might be in Sabah, another school in Perak, another school in KL. They just don't see each other. And when you put them all together, there's just energy, and there's this thing, this magic that happens. And then from last year's conference, you know, we saw teachers, the teachers that were in last year's conference really start to do a lot in schools this year. For example, Mr. Senanthi from Ladang Butte, he started to translate all the Frog guides, you know, how to use Frog into Tamil for the Tamil community in the Tamil schools. And then Word Mania, our spelling competition, which started in March, he got 29 students in his class, in his school. He only had, it's a small school in the estate in Sepang, 29 students, and they won 3rd place nationwide. Wow. Just because he was fired up, he got it, you know, and that's the point. You need to come to see what's happening. Then you ask yourself the question, is this, you know, is change really possible? And I think you've got the keynote speakers speaking about that. And then how do I do it? And then you've got the real life teachers who've done it before to tell you and to interact
like
with.
Julia to tell
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's that vision to action, isn't it? The dreaming, doing, you know, we can have all the vision, have all of that, but I think just the excitement building for Thursday is that when we all come together, we can really see not just vision, but turn it into action.
Yeah,
in
and you ask
practical
yourself
ways.
then, is it possible? And you've got so many people just there showing you,
demonstrating
that
yes,
it's possible. And when you know it's possible, then you're like, hey, I'm fired up, I'm going to go and do my thing. So the thing is, everyone's going to have a different issue that they're going to tackle in their school, but everyone doing their bits will amount to a lot of bits, rather than just saying, oh, it's never going to happen. You know, you come here and you know it's going to happen, and I'm a part of it. So then instead of going away thinking, oh, this is a great idea, it's like, how can I be a part of it? What can I do? And then just organically getting that to grow. So yeah, we're really excited about
I think
that.
passion, you know, just hearing Lou's passion, it overflows. So
that sounds very exciting, and I think we will look forward to hearing from you to speak and the rest of the speakers. And thank you so much, Julia, for coming on the show. Thank you, Lou, for coming back again. Wish you all the best in the conference. Dan setakat itu sahaja agenda AWANI untuk malam ini. Jika anda ada cadangan atau pandangan, sila hantarkannya kepada Facebook Astro AWANI, atau boleh tweet kami di Twitter 501 AWANI, atau kalau ada gambar boleh Instagram sekali. Itu sahaja agenda AWANI untuk malam ini. Saya Cynthia Eng. Selamat malam. Thank you so much.